All right, hello and welcome to WWW, Worldwide Wrestling Federation. Over here. This is Weekly Wellness Wednesday, and we want to welcome you on this live stream. I'm Robert at a home in beautiful Granbury, Texas. Jim Rhodes, my good buddy and co-host, is up in, I always say Hurricane, but Jim, what's the name of your, you are muted. You're still muted. Jim, okay. Jim, can you hear me? You are muted.
All of the best jokes I could have done. Thank you. Yes, I'm in southern Utah, near St. George.
Okay, awesome. And Dr. Nick is over in, is it sunny? I'm assuming it's sunny. Sunny would be appropriate, what? Most days
360 out of 365 days. Today it was actually cloudy.
Wow.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow. One of those five.
We actually enjoy a cloudy day now and then.
One of those 5 days of the year.
Yeah.
He's in the beautiful city of Mesa, and Jim and I are just so excited that we're here with Dr. Nick, just to be real, raw, and actually quite passionate and excited. So why, I always ask this question up front. I didn't prep you on this, but we'll just run with it. Why, in a brief paragraph or so, Dr. Nick, what do you foresee the value is for somebody to tune in here the next 25 minutes?
I think it is invaluable to learn what the pathway to staying healthy is. For so many years, I practiced as a family practitioner, and I saw patients week after week, and I was handing out Band-Aids. I was passing out pills and giving remedies. And they had no skin in the game. They took the medicine I gave them, which alleviated their symptoms, but the cause of their malady wasn't treated, because our modern lifestyle oftentimes treats the majority of the illnesses doctors see in their offices. But as a classically trained physician, I was trained to treat those things. And, you know, that was my job. That's what I did. That's what put my kids through school. And well, fast forward to about 2009, and I had a patient of mine come. I've got to tell you, in medical school, I took a 2-week course in nutrition, which is really very good, because nowadays the medical students don't even get that. It's an absolute elective now. But I learned what the vitamins were, learned what the minerals were, and you know, learned how to spot scurvy. And I was out the door, and I was your authority on nutrition, which I never had time to talk about because I was too busy treating things with pills. So in that same medical school class, they taught me that we didn't need nutritional supplements, because everything that we needed, we got from our food. And as far as weight loss went, I was told safe, effective weight loss was 1 to 2 pounds a month. So those were my two credos. And over the years, so many patients came into my office, and they were asking me, Doc, what about this supplement? What about that one? And I always had the same answer for them. And I said, I would not do that, for a couple of good reasons. Number one, I knew nothing about what the heck they were talking about. And number two, I was afraid that if I told them to take it, and without knowing what was in there, and they took it and some harm befell upon them, they were going to turn around and sue me. So my answer was always no. And one of my patients, against my medical advice, took one of these supplement systems, and he had this really remarkable result. Well, far from being impressed, I was actually concerned. And that was the first time I ever took a serious look at nutraceutical products. And my main reason for looking at it was to spot the harmful substance in it that was giving him this remarkable result. And when I couldn't find it, I started doing further research to the point where I actually conducted a clinical trial on myself with that system of products. And I had a very similar result to him. Well, that started me on a path of humility, quite honestly, because I realized that as a physician, I was looking through the wrong end of the telescope. I was treating symptoms and illness instead of really looking to see what was causing these illnesses and how to advise people to live a healthier life to try to be their best self. So for the last over a decade or so, I have put my efforts into researching into the nutraceutical space, and I have actually practiced what I preached. I've been putting these nutraceuticals into my body, leading a healthy lifestyle, and so has my wife, my children, and my grandchildren. So I'm here to tell you, I'm 67 years old. And I feel pretty darn good. And I'm doing things that I was having trouble doing in my 40s. So anybody here that wants to get a second chance at regrouping and leading a healthier, more fulfilling life, I think we have some things to talk about.
Wow.
I would tend to agree. And by the way, guys, it's almost like we've kind of flopped it, but it's been a 42-year journey in the medical professional world for Dr. Nick, and an equal amount of time for Dr. Nick to be married to his sweetheart, his wife. And Dr. Nick, you cracked a joke earlier. Jim and I found quite funny about finding your wife instead of your medical degree. I forget what
I basically went to medical school for a medical degree, and I left with a medical degree and a wife. And of the two, over the last 42 years, I have to admit the marriage has been more valuable to me.
Well, Jim, we found another buddy who knows that he married up. Sounds like.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes,
I certainly did.
Yeah. Anybody on this line, raise your hand if we can't see it, but you can raise it anyway. So, or if you're a woman on this line, which probably most of you are, raise your hand if you know that your husband did that. So we want
a lot
to
of smiles out there.
Yeah.
So Dr. Nick, that the point where nutrition kind of woke you up a little bit, that was literally what, 30 years into your practice.
Yeah.
And then, so you already kind of summarized how you were a patient, and then you click a clinical study, and then you dealt with some other programs. And then how about we fast forward that clock up until when you heard, how'd you hear about Zalevo here?
Well, quite honestly, what was happening was, in my other endeavors, I had gone about as far as I was going to go with them. And, I was at a crossroads. I was leading one endeavor of research, and I was seriously considering maybe just retiring and going fishing and spending some time with the grandkids, quite honestly. And a couple of people I knew very well and had the utmost faith and confidence in their professionalism and integrity, I just happened to speak with them, and they told me what they were doing. And they were asking me if I had one more run in me, whether I would be interested in joining them. And, I reminded them that I was the skeptical doctor. And before I could even consider it, I had to know what they were doing. I had to have them open up their books, so to speak, and let me see exactly what it was they were dabbling in. And then after that, I would have to try it myself to make sure that I could recommend it to anyone. And that was about in August of 2021. And I proceeded to do my due diligence and research into the products that they were formulating. And then I put it to the test myself to make sure that, number one, it was doing at least as good as what I was already taking, and to see whether maybe it had the potential to do better. And I'm happy to report that not only was it as good as what I was taking, but it did show some incremental progress in what I was attempting to do. And actually, to kill the suspense, those two people I'm talking about are Kirsty Cody and Dr. Dennis Harper. And another guy on this call, Jim Rhodes, I don't want to embarrass him, but he was actually one of my mentors on getting me involved in the nutraceutical medicine, because we didn't learn a darn thing about that in medical school. And I listened to him for many months on his ramblings on nutraceuticals, which I thought, he was full of what at first. And then I came to appreciate his wisdom and continued my own studies into that space.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jim, come in. So I know you said you did some events and you traveled some. You spent some time with Dr. Nick.
Yeah, what was really fun is the company that we worked with had opened up into Mexico.
Yes.
And so we got to tour Mexico and do on-stage presentations in the Spanish language. And to my surprise, Dr. Nick spoke better Spanish than I did. And here I had lived in Mexico when I was young, and in South America for about 3 years, and had a lot of Spanish under my belt too. But it was so fun working with him and watching him progress, and coming from the background he came from was a big blessing to the industry. That knowledge is power, but it needs to be true knowledge that you can apply and see results of. And that's what he had done for himself.
Wow.
And I take my hat off to him to be able to say that when he knew his colleagues were around who maybe disagreed with that was no small thing. So well done.
Thank you, Jim. And thanks for helping me open my eyes a bit. It was a very humbling experience, I have to admit. When I think about all of the years that I could have been assisting people in a different way, I can't really regret it, because better late than never. But I have actually, over the last 10 years, gotten more thank yous from people than I did in the previous 30. And that's been very rewarding.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. So many blessings, as Jim said, for both of you. Thanks for both of you stepping into that. And Dr. Nick, you were bucking the establishment in many ways. So I would love for you to kind of share specifically how you tackled your initial experience with Zalevo. And I know you tend to take some of your numbers and so forth. We have to be compliant. But the point is, I would love for you to kind of sum up what you experienced those first few weeks.
Sure. I basically took the system as it is, the master formulations, the shakes, the Fortitude 85, the biomes, and the eVibe, and basically took it as was directed for the challenges that they put out. And I thought I was in pretty good shape. So I thought this was going to be a toughie, that I was going to get any forward progress on this. And as I always do, I took a full profile of blood work before I started and afterwards, just like I did every other time before. And I took the products for a full month, and I thought I was at a really good weight. And I had actually dropped an additional 8 pounds and actually gained 2 pounds of lean muscle mass. And I lost, I believe it was 2 inches off my waist. and my energy was great. I actually go to the gym 5 days out of the week, do resistance training. And I was actually able to make increases over the course of that month in my resistance training. I was sleeping like a log. My wife tells me I appeared to be in a better mood. I don't know how it could have been better, but she obviously has the metrics on that. So overall, I was really delighted that, you know, not only was I doing as well as I was on something I was very satisfied with, but I actually seemed to make additional gains. And I was in love with the shakes. You know, the flavor was not that, you know, that should stand in the way of good health, but it doesn't hurt that they taste just so good. And, you know, I basically am just so excited to be able to be part of, you know, the advisory on the lab, that I will actually have some type of input going forward on additional products we will be creating in this company, because that is something that did not exist in my last experience. Not only that, as part of my due diligence, I wanted to see exactly what was going into these products, and never in my wildest imagining would I imagine that they would open up everything to me, which I never had that privilege in my previous workings before either.
Yeah.
So I saw every single facet of what was going on, every test, every quality control, where they were coming from. And it was just unbelievable. I just couldn't believe that anyone would be that upright and transparent.
Yeah, I know. I love
Were
that.
you
And that's- go ahead, Jim.
May I ask, were you impressed with the quality they were going for?
I was over the moon impressed with the quality that they were going for, because, you know, it's easy to say and very hard to do, and harder to pay for.
Yes, well said. That is the bottom line.
That is the bottom line.
Easier to say, harder to do, and even harder to pay for. Yeah, it's ongoing. I love that line. So, and Jim and I, one of the things we love doing in these particular chats is when we hear that story again, 8 pounds shed over that initial experience, and then 2 pounds, you know, added on, and that was a big jump from, I'm assuming
67. That's hard to do, because
I mean,
I'm suffering from sarcopenia, which is age-related loss of lean muscle mass. So just retaining lean muscle mass is a big deal. Gaining it is almost unheard of.
Wow.
no, and then obviously reduction in the waist was the visible fun with your belt.
I thought I was doing pretty good. I was actually satisfied. So I thought, well, you know, I'm really not going to see much here.
So,
Wow.
So between Dr. Nick, you and Jim, one of the things we love to do is, as we heard the story, is to, in layman's terms, pause and just share a few nuggets for those in this live or the recording, and what was actually happening inside the body, because you were already taking some great products, some good products, and you're already very fit. So give us a couple between, maybe start with you and then Jim, and bounce back between each other. But to start with what was happening those first few days, like kind of an inside out view in the body.
Yeah. You know, basically, I don't know how in depth we want to get, because as a doctor, I always feel that I like to keep things simple and things people could understand.
Right.
But actually, what I did over these 30 days was a series of what's called intermittent fasting, which means I would eat for 5 days and then fast for 2 days. And I did that every week for 4 weeks. And that's how I got those results.
Okay, Dr. Nick, so can we, again, pardon me, but I may be kind of butting in. So let's pause right there. So you weren't doing that type of, I'm just, number one, were you doing intermittent fasting prior to that 30-day trial? And then so that's the first question.
Yes, yeah, I've been doing intermittent fasting on and off for over 10 years now.
Okay, so
Okay, and
but you still shed the 8 pounds. So what was different?
well, I was doing it every week. So, and, you know, basically before that, I was probably doing the intermittent fasting maybe once a month
Okay.
for, say, the past year or so. So I was putting it to the test to see where it would go. So I basically did it on a weekly basis for 4 weeks.
Okay.
Can I
Jim
ask
had a
this
comment.
question?
Yes.
In your former use of intermittent fasting, did you find a difference because of the way that the product that you were using during this fast was sustaining you to make it any easier to be able to accomplish that 4 weeks in a row?
What I was using before, I would use some, I don't want to call them snacks, but there would be some actual consumption of certain items during those fasting days. On the Zalevo fast, I just consume the burn product for, you know, 2 straight days.
How hard was that?
It was a breeze.
Did it shock you how easily you made?
It really did. It really did. I was not hungry at all. And basically energy levels were great. And it actually got easier on the second day.
Yeah.
It really did. It really did get easier on the second day. So I was very, very impressed with the burn product. And again, it has nutrients that support that fast and basically help the body maintain its energy level while it goes through its cleansing process.
Agreed.
So again, to keep this simple, so you had done types of intermittent fasting, even at that length, and with this difference here, you just didn't introduce the carbs, proteins, or fats in the fast.
Exactly.
Because if you're watching this for the first, if you're new to the page and you're watching this live, we do talk about, you'll see the word autophagy floating around everywhere. And we've done other calls on that, but that's part of the beautiful reason why this is so such a powerful story, including fasting. That's why we're pausing and not introducing the carbs, proteins, and fats, because we want that autophagy phase. But to keep this simple, Dr. Nick and Jim, so okay, so the intermittent fasting was different. And then you also changed up the type of, if you want to call it a full spectrum meal along with your food. So let's talk about the difference there.
Okay, I was consuming 2 of the Zalevo shakes, the whey shakes a day, plus I was actually, believe it or not, consuming 2 meals. I usually eat 6 times a day. And I had cut it down to 4 times a day. And each of my meals was probably about 400 calories. And again, I stayed pretty active for a 67-year-old man. So I needed those extra calories. And that's going to differ depending on whatever person or where they are along their journey and what their goals are. But for 5 days out of the week, I would have a Zalevo shake for breakfast. I would have the Fortitude 85. And I would eat about a 400-calorie lunch, have another Zalevo shake around mid-afternoon, and then eat another 400-calorie meal. And I do that 5 days out of the week. I would exercise every day. I would drink plenty of water, purified water, at least half of my body weight in water a day. And, you know, as far as exercise goes, that depends on the individual as well. But if you're sitting in a chair, start by standing up. And if you're standing up, move 1 foot in front of the other and start walking. So you start where you start, but people say, well, do I have to exercise every day? And I said, well, yeah, the human body was made to move. So if we don't move it as we get older, it tends to freeze up on us.
Yeah. So no, I
yeah.
love that. It got to make our body to move. Otherwise, that would go into decline.
Yeah, otherwise we would not be able to assume all the positions we assume.
Yeah, that's good.
And as we get older, it becomes a privilege to assume some of those positions. So we want to keep it moving.
We do. Amen to that. So so comments on that, Jim. So obviously he's changing up it always depends on your caloric burn, on your how active you are, your age. So I know Jim, what's the difference too? I know, were you taking eating about 4 or 5 times a day as well? And you have a similar journey?
Yes, mine was a health challenge too, and it was dealing with blood sugar being a little low. And I had to be around protein or some source of food every 3-4 hours, and or else I could dip too low. So intermittent fasting was not almost impossible for me.
Mhm.
And if I just went on a water fast, I was in trouble after about 18 hours. That would knock me out for a day. So that was not a possibility until I found out that a dose of this every 4 hours, which was eliminating what we talked about, the carbs, the protein, and the fats, but still a lot of nutrition. Plus it was keeping me burning ketones for the energy side, which was the nice side benefit of the 19 pounds leaving my body, which I really appreciate and needed to go. And it shocked me that I was able to go 48 hours. And then what's really fun, as you get more used to that and get your body into using ketones as a fuel and retrain them to burn fat rather than glucose, it gets easier and easier. And I've actually gone as far as 60 hours. And for me, I didn't think that was ever possible. But when you're into that 20th hour and that thing, autophagy, kicks in, which is the reboot of your entire system to help remove damaged cells that can't be repaired and repair those that can. And you're taking that wonderful Ultra 30 protein meal replacement that has so many nutrients in it, so dense that all of the building blocks are there to rebuild new cells, along with all of the things that are released while there is no insulin needed to deliver the glucose. That is a major factor for my problem to let the body do some healing and drop insulin resistance.
Yeah, Jim, it's funny. I've run into so many people where you throw out that word autophagy and they just kind of glaze over. And I said, think about it as, you go away on, your body is your house. And what we're asking you to do is just go on a 2-day vacation from your house and let the cleaning people and the repairman in. And when you come back, your house is going to be clean and all of the nuts and bolts are going to be tightened, and you're going to be happier in your home.
Beautifully said.
I do love that. Go away. You said the house cleaner and somebody.
2-day, your
And the
house,
repairman.
your body, and we're asking you to take a 2-day vacation. We're going to put you up at a Holiday Inn. We're going to bring in a repair crew and house cleaners. And when you come back, you're not going to recognize the house.
It's true.
It's true.
I call it the mini fountain of youth.
I love it. I love it, guys. So basically our time goes fast here. So we're gonna, with your permission, we'll pause for see if there's any questions. If you're watching this live and you ask a question, just FYI, we cannot see it for 30 seconds. So what you're hearing is Jim and I and Dr. Nick after the fact. So there is a little time delay, but here's one question, Dr. Nick. Let's see here. Oh, one of the questions was, did you have some goals as far as around autophagy before Zalevo? Elaine's asking this, or were you even really aware of autophagy?
I was aware of autophagy. That in my previous endeavors, my goal was more weight loss than the other added benefits of autophagy. And I did achieve that a few times, but quite honestly, after doing this for a month and achieving it 4 times in a month, I've gotten a new appreciation for it.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Good point there. So you're aware of it, and then you saw even a deeper, powerful impact because of the regular progressive. Yeah.
I just didn't do it enough to know what a good thing it was.
Yeah, it's one of those things where definitely the more you dig around and understand and learn what's happening in the body, oof, the more you're like, okay, it's time to do it again. All right. So if there were a couple closing thoughts that based on your journey, by the way, we can, maybe we should pause for a second. You want to say one comment around something we just launched? I know we hadn't finished the, Kirsty's always saying, we're finishing a pilot study. She's our director of Zalevo Labs, if you're watching this, if you don't know, and Nick is one of our 2 medical professionals on the labs team. Dr. Nick, can you say a couple thoughts about your experience with the new Collagen 300 before we close this out?
Again, I believe we're finishing up the pilot study this week, and I cannot wait to get all the data in. All of the numbers, we have questionnaires, pictures, we're compiling it. And we started off with, I think, about 85 people. I know the number that we're actually going to compile the data on is going to end up being less because there's going to be dropout with compliance and things of that sort. But the initial data that's been coming in is really, really exciting. And like I said, I don't want to say anything without having, data to stand on. And but I'm excited about actually compiling a result to this.
Okay, well said. And I will say that I've been on the same pilot study, and internally and externally, a lot of awesome changes and benefits.
I was going to say,
Jim,
skin's glowing pretty good there. And I don't look too bad for an old dog either, do
you
I?
look great.
Hey, I'm the old man on the
I know.
page here. The miracle that's happened to me is the flexibility in my lower back.
Yeah, the bendability, you say.
The bendability just increased and improved to the point I don't groan to put my own socks on at all. And I sleep longer and better at night because it doesn't, when I move wrong, it doesn't wake me up. And I actually got to work on a car for 4 hours bent over, of course, the engine compartment, replacing the pump on the power steering, and stood up after 4 hours, expecting not to be able to, and went, what is different? Because I've been on it for 6, 7 weeks now.
Yeah.
And it has made the flexibility much, much better for me.
One thing I can say that won't ruin anything, I think that is one of the advantages of building with a very, very, very small size type 1 collagen. I mean, we're talking about the cement that goes into every nook and cranny of the body. I think the benefits when we crunch this data are going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Agreed.
They are, guys. Yeah, and I had some similar benefits as Jim shared because of my years as an athlete, a lot of miles and a few falls. And my goodness, it's helped a lot of those areas that were talking to me. I'll just stop there. So Nick, Dr. Nick, so thanks for joining us tonight. Your story is so compelling and on many levels. One is from the traditional, having the courage to kind of take that other step into the dark side, and now it's the light side.
Now it's the light side.
Yeah, but anyway, along with being such a good human being, so we're just I'm so grateful, and Jim and I both, or that you're in this community. So what would you like to say in closing, if you were to kind of sum up what we just shared and a potential call to action for people listening?
What I would say is kind of take my own advice. I mean, being skeptical is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Every scientific mind is skeptical. There's a problem when you confuse skepticism for cynicism, because if you're cynical about something, you never learn anything. If you're skeptical, you will continue to learn. So if anyone wants a healthier life and is curious about what Zalevo has to offer, I could talk to them till I'm blue in the face. You can, anybody can. The challenge I usually give to everyone is try it as directed for 30 days and see how you feel. I'm sure you've done more foolish things with your money than that. And the upside of this is fantastic. So, you know, if you go through 30 days and have questions, I'll be glad to answer why it works. But I refuse to debate why it shouldn't work.
Oh, I love that.
So
Because
well said.
Yeah, been there, done that. So guys, I want to, let's thank Carol. Thank you, Christopher, Laura. These are our live attendees, guys. I want to honor them, okay? Cindy, thanks for being here. That's super, she said. David said, what a wonderful testimony. We love you, Dr. Messina. Julie, can't wait. The greatest products, can't wait for more. Diane Bankston, great story from Dr. Nick. Love Jim's happy grins. Elaine, she had the question about autophagy, guys. Julie, Carol, once again, Ramona, thanks for being here. Laura, just some great people. Pam Ashburn, thanks, guys. Love and light. And Jim, closing thought as well to end this chat tonight.
I will echo Dr. Nick. Literally, the way to know if this, and if you want to trust it or not, is to put it in this incredible body, because when the body gets what it needs in a form it can use, the miracle is inside. And within a shorter time than a month, you will know if it is doing good or not. And there's nothing to risk, because there's actually, at the end of 30 days, if it didn't work, you can return it for a refund.
Yeah,
But it does work. Almost
Well said.
everybody.
Well said, guys. Guys, one last announcement for next week. Again, Jim and I are committed in many ways, in good ways.
We're both
We are
married.
committed as well. But anyway, so next Wednesday, we're looking to bring a mom sharing a beautiful, beautiful story about how this has impacted her whole family, from bambinos to teenager who's actually an international level dancer. It's going to be a really powerful chat next week with this lady. And Dr. Nick, just love and appreciate you. Thanks so much for being on this journey and being who you are. So guys, have a great night. Love you, Jim. Thanks,
Love you
Nick.
both. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.